I'll say the statement, and it might be controversial, Jeff, so I'll just say it. But if you're a 2, 3, 4 bedroom property and you're 100% booked out right now for the summer, you're too low.
Yeah.
You booked too low.
Yeah. We are here at Greens and Gators, which is another one of Grand Welcome's spectacular short-term rentals here at the Lake of the Ozarks. This particular property is in a prime location, almost the very end of HH, just literally a stone's throw from Shady Gators, Camden on the Lake. You can see an excellent view right outside of these windows here of a kind of deep in a cove off the main channel. And we're gonna give you a tour of this home because this is gonna be a new series where we show off short-term rentals that you as a vacation renter might want to consider renting when you come down to the Lake of the Ozarks. But also, as a new homeowner of a short-term rental property, and you already know that I've hired Zach and Katie with Grand Welcome to manage our property, Zach and I have been having a lot of conversations about data and understanding how we derive an ROI, how we understand what we might make off this property. And this is an ongoing conversation that now we've been having every single month. And I thought this would be a great series to introduce to our audience for the homeowner, either A, that has considered renting but hasn't jumped off the ledge, maybe the person who has been renting for a year, 2 years, 10 years, and just wants to understand the data better. And then 3, the person who's watching this, who's been hearing me talk about how the Lake of the Ozarks is at the precipice of massive growth as a vacation destination, which I believe, and I don't say this for the camera, I say this and I live it because, as you know, I just bought a property. That is my intent, is that is going to be one of many, because I believe that this destination is not only going to become bigger on a national, worldwide scale during the summer, but I think it's going to be 365 days a year.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Zach, you told me that you have a call every month with some data geek.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you described it.
Yep.
So you were sharing data with me the other day, which is kind of what sparked this, and I said, you know what, we should talk about this on camera. So let's talk about the data. Where do you want to start?
You know, I think we start with like maybe even where you're at in Camden, just to give you an idea. Obviously, there's mounds and mounds of data, and to you, it's probably a bunch of words on a screen and some numbers, right? Mm-hmm. But the reality is, we segment and look at this stuff every month. My pricing team at Grand Welcome is phenomenal. We have a guy that's dedicated to our market, dedicated to the state of Missouri, actually. He's phenomenal, and I do that call every month to understand not only the market to the best of our ability, but also our market, like how we're doing as a company. 2 qualifiers, I think we talked about this, but 1, this isn't like the home market, home buy market, where like all the data is really publicly available and you can find it.
Right.
It's actually really hard to dissect the data.
And let me clarify too, because this is very different than the videos I do with Jesse, which is very specific to real estate.
Yeah.
But not rental real estate.
No.
Very specific to home prices, sales, etc.
Yeah, well, it's just public data. You can go find it.
Yep.
This is stuff that we have to crawl for, and we scan your VRBO and all the sites every day. We pull that pricing down, and then we're actually making a lot of assumptions in like what it actually sold for, that kind of stuff. So you could talk to 50 different people. Their data will be somewhere directionally correct, as they call it, but probably a little different. Well, we're going to talk about today specifically the 60 plus properties that we manage, and then the data within that. And then I can give you some high level views of what we see in the market based on what we pull from for things like key data and price labs that give us some insights. Does that work?
Fire away.
Okay, so let's start with this Camden because it's a good view.
And by the way, we're sitting on Lake Ozark right now.
Yeah, we are. Lake Ozark. Yep, we can get there too, because this is an interesting fact. So January, so obviously we're in the, midway through January.
At the time of this recording. Yep.
Yeah, so the hard part is January and February are like dead months. And one of the things about owning a rental property at the lake is you have a dead month because we're seasonal today, but it's interesting to see the data. So for example, in Camden, I've got it sorted by 3 categories: 4-bedroom market, 1-bedroom market, 2-bedroom market. Okay. And so
Why'd you leave 3 out?
We just don't have a lot of 3 bedrooms in Camden. Okay. So I don't really pay much attention, but I'll tell you that the 2 and 3 bedroom market are very similar. Okay. But if you notice, the 1-bedroom market is actually up 32% year over year in bookings in January. So you say 30%. That's not a huge number in January because there was probably very little last year. But I think these smaller homes in the off season, as I've talked about before, are going to continue to be popular. 1 and 2 bedroom homes are going to continue to be a thing that people want to come down. Why? Because you're probably not bringing a massive group, but you're probably bringing you and your wife, or maybe your wife and your kids. So a 1 and 2 bedroom investment is never a bad thing. So for the 1-bedroom market, we're up 32%. We're flat year over year on the 2-bedroom, but to be honest with you, that's not a bad thing because we were pretty good last year. We still have 4 to 10% occupancy, and that seems really low because it is a low number, but getting 4 to 10% in January, getting something for your property, at least pays the HOA fee or it pays the electric bill, because you got to remember, you're still paying overhead for the house. Sure. So getting a rental is not a bad thing. The prices are about a quarter of the summer, but again, you want to drive those bookings because getting that occupancy is really important, especially in the off months. So we're actually up in those segments. While you look at in Sunrise Beach, the 2-bedroom market is actually down 19%. And I think what's primarily driving that is that Camdenton and Kinderhook in particular have always done, but they've done a lot of events in the winter months. So when you think about investing in property, a lot of people don't do Camdenton because they think about Lake Ozark, and those are great places.
They think of Osage Beach, Lake Ozark, Sunrise Beach. Those are the most common.
But like a lot of places, like Shady Gators isn't even open right now. Right. So whereas Kinderhook is thriving and they've got all the things. So you can see why you would have an increase there. When you're buying a property, one of the things that I want to talk to all homeowners about is what is your goal for that property? Because it could matter where you buy based on the data that's available and what you want.
And so if you're wanting to, and there's a couple questions I have for you, because when I was considering buying, my first conversation with you was, what kept me from buying prior to this was that fear that you can only rent for 3, maybe 5 months of the year, maybe May through September. And so it's just like, there's too many dead months. A, as I'm watching this market start to flourish and grow, et cetera. But then B, as you mentioned, there is an advantage to having that smaller house because it's a place maybe you want to just come down for a quiet weekend. Maybe you're writing a book. Maybe you need to get away for work and you just need a quiet place to go. You're not going to rent a big place like this that sleeps 20. You're going to rent the place that is more affordable, or you're getting away because it's a romantic weekend with the spouse. It's interesting when you think about that because I think everybody automatically thinks, well, I need it to sleep as many people as possible so I can host the big parties. But really, you're only catering those pretty much 3 months of the year.
Yeah, you are. I think with the big homes, you can get rentals in the off season. You absolutely can. We've got Tiki House. You guys have all seen that. That guy,
corporate events.
Yep. And they had plenty of rentals in the off season. In fact, we had a lot of discussions with them about how to best market that. And they ended up sacrificing what we call average daily rate. They sacrificed ADR for RevPAR, which we could talk about, but they sacrificed a little money on the ADR to make a little money, a little more ROI to get that renter in. And we've had we had a wedding there in the fall. We had some things that happened, but you have to really push for those. You have to really drive that in your marketing and advertising, which is why I work with you and why we do things with Lake Expo and all those things, because we want to push those people to go there. Yeah. For a house that sleeps, a 5+ bedroom house in the off season, you're gonna have to really think about your strategy with that versus a 2 or 1 bedroom. The pricing difference in a 30% or 40% swing is not thousands of dollars. It's maybe $50 to $150. So you don't feel that pain, and it's a lot easier to market. To your point, it's like you can really drive that price. You can drop it $1 a night and still be competitive in the market versus to be competitive at a large home, you have to drop it significantly more. So that's why we're seeing those increases in the 1 and 2 bedroom market. I would say the other part about occupancy is every house has an occupancy. Most people push that occupancy for ROI numbers, which I totally understand that if you've got a house, 5-bedroom house, and you want to sleep 28 people in there, I get that. And that we have homeowners that do that, and it's fine. But you got to remember that houses have an occupancy in themselves. Number of bathrooms you've got, if you're on a septic system, what can the water in the well handle? Like all those factors have to go into that decision. And so when you're buying a property, those are things that are really important. You ask your real estate professional, like, okay, how many gallons can this thing really hold? Because if you have a septic, like majority of places, if you sleep 28 people on 4
My first thought is hot water. Or is there enough places for people to puke? Well, I think that's the fear though, that so many people have with a destination like this, which has a reputation as a party destination, which don't believe everything you see on TV, I should say. I mean, yes, there's plenty of that, but what they're not showing you because it doesn't get clicks is the family-friendly aspects, the quiet aspects, the chill aspects. It exists, you just don't see it because it doesn't get clicks. All they want to show you is the go-fast boats and the partying and the debauchery.
Yeah, and that's a direct correlation to how you set your house up. Yeah. And this house is a good example of that, where they're in the middle of Party Central. They allow those parties to be here, but they have also set the house up in a way that, like, you'll see it's set up very nice, and there is an innate sense in most people. They will treat your stuff like you've treated it. So if you walk in and everything's nice and pristine and taken care of, they are more apt to do that versus a place that you walk in and it looks like a frat house. We've had those frat houses, and I will tell you, they get far more parties, and it's a good investment strategy for people. Like we have people there, like we're gonna buy those.
Do you think that's a misconception though? Just like the misconception about the lake. The lake is dirty, the lake is just party. All of that is exactly what I just said, a misconception. But I think a lot of investment owners shy away from bachelor or bachelorette parties because they saw the one news story that happened one time out of 10,000 where somebody destroyed a property, and so that one story created scarcity, and now they don't allow it.
I agree with that. We've got, like I said, 60+ properties at this point. We have 1 or 2 major events a year. Usually they don't involve total destruction of a house. It's like something happened and we had to fix it, and like we dealt with the guest and we figured it out. I wouldn't have 60+ properties if every weekend we had major issues and parties and I was getting complaints. Like I wouldn't have 109 5-star reviews. Like everybody would be complaining about me. The reality is we have those things. They do happen. They are real, but they're not to the scale that people exist. They think they exist. It's a good point because by and large and in far, we get a ton of just people, groups and events that just want a place to hang out.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the quote unquote debauchery is happening off site anyway, and that's okay. Even the bars, I think, would tell you it's not as bad as the news would let you think.
Yeah.
If it was that bad every day, think about the pressure of you as a business owner. You wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
There is a break even here that I think people have to consider.
And let me be very clear, for those of you that are watching this, you're probably the one who watched this far, understands that and knows that. I have no issue with the negative news that continues to come out, even though everybody knows that I'm like the ambassador for defending the Lake of the Ozarks. I don't really care that people have these misconceptions, because you know what? You stay away then. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to get busy. There's going to continue to be some great opportunities. And that's what I look at it as. I look at this place as, I love this place to live here. I love it because it's a vacation destination. I love it because I think you can make a really good living doing a lot of different things here as a result of what it is, which is a vacation destination.
100%, and it's growing. The population here is growing significantly. The job market here is, if you want a job and you want to work hard, it's here. Like, the work is here. In fact, a lot of the business owners I talk to in our groups and our meetings, like, they're all looking for really good people that want to live here and want to make a life here and can make good, decent money doing it. You just have to be willing to go to work every day. And most of us know that here at the lake, it's a very hardworking society from March 15th through September. There's some downtime in the off season to kind of relax. And then you get back in. That's why you hear locals say, love the off season, because it's more than just the people. It's also the fact that, like, they slow down and get to take a break. So
it's interesting, now that I've lived here full time and I'm still making it through, I actually would say the off season didn't really start until January.
Yeah.
Like, it really truly is kind of busy. With events and things going on easily, because especially based on weather, like September, October are still boating months. November and December, there's a lot of holiday stuff going on here. And then it just dies right off. It's the breather that we all need. It's also the breather that you might need from a vacation perspective, because it's such a great place to come where it's very quiet. I really think that it's really just January and February, and then come the end of February when you start to get the Mardi Gras stuff, and then you get into St. Patty's, and then all of a sudden the parades start happening and things start happening again. It's really only 2 months out of the year that are truly dead here.
People don't think about spring break here, but it's huge. And you're like, what can you get in the water? Not always, but the reality is you don't have
bars,
to.
You've got
it's all open. So it's like,
you're not getting in the water anywhere. You can go to spring break even in the panhandle of Florida, it's too cold. So it's like, you really have to go truly tropical to get
Hawaii.
Really anywhere in this country, you're not getting that.
Long story short, what I want to portray to you, Jeff, you can look here, you have a 2-bedroom. So as you think, looking across here, we're pretty flat, and that's okay, because 2 bedrooms are still doing really, really well in Camden. And by and large, you're going to see this continue. Look at the 1-bedroom continue to increase every month. And this is current bookings on the books. This is just like, as of today, this is how we're growing. And almost every segment is either flat or up. There's a few down segments that, 2 bedrooms in Sunrise Beach, which is, to be honest with you, primarily because we have a lot of 2 bedrooms in Sunrise Beach. And this is all going to pick up. Like, this January number is going to be, by the end of the month, this is going to be flat or up, because we know that the second half of January is going to be a little better than the first half. February is always tough. So if you think about Missouri, January is a crapshoot. We might get really cold. We might not. We might be okay. And then February is always when we get hit with the snow or the big ice storm. And so a lot of homeowners prefer not to get bookings in February just because they've got their houses completely closed up. They got the water turned off. I'm not saying you shouldn't book. We definitely would accommodate that. But by and large, a lot of our homeowners just understand that, like, February is just one of those months that you kind of reset. We do a ton of deep cleans and preparation for the season in February to get ready. So
I want to say a couple of things. One, when you're projecting this kind of stuff and you're trying to work off real data, you're pretty much have to pull from the previous year, because it's really hard to project, because not a lot of people here sitting in mid-January have booked their vacation or their time away.
Correct.
When does that typically really kick into high gear?
So you can look here at the segments and I'll show you. So the main booking season for most homes, majority of homes, starts somewhere between February 15th and March 15th. That's when you start getting the summer bookings. So we have 2 major booking windows. The first one is at the holidays, Christmas and New Year, when people are together. They're thinking about their vacation. Now, this is primarily going to be your large home. So like Tiki House and a Panoramic Paradise, their June and Julys are almost completely booked. So like, if you want a large home that sleeps over 20 people, you're going to want to book early. That's when those are booking. Why? Because people know if they want a large home, they're going to have to get it early. That's also the best time to book those homes. You do not want to book one. You might get lucky and find one very last minute for a discount, but by and large, you're going to want to book a little early, because when you get into the booking season, think about how algorithms work. When the bookings start kicking up, so does the pricing. It's supply and demand like any other market. You want to come in those holiday seasons to book the big houses. That's your best bet. Now, your smaller homes, let's say less than 16, those are really going to kind of kick in somewhere between February and March. That's when this is going to light up green. It's going to be green across the board. You're going to start seeing things really pick up then. And that really is driven by, I call it the winter blues. Like, everyone's kind of down for the winter. Like, So then they get into February, things warm up a little bit, things start to kick in, and then they're thinking about spring break, and then they're thinking about their summer. That's really the like booking window for the summer. And then you get into the 1-2 bedroom market. Those are the most interesting markets, and they're the most volatile markets for me. Meaning a lot of last minute bookings, a ton of last minute bookings. Last minute within 14 days of arrival, they're booking. As a renter, someone who's renting, you want to book early on those smaller properties because if you know when things are gonna start booking, that's supply and demand. You know, we know 14 days out, like as a business guy, I'm not dropping the price 14 days out on a 2-bed because I know there's a lot of last minute. So unless it's just not booked and it's 2 days before, we're not dropping anything. You kind of want to know those windows as both a homeowner and as a renter because that's when you want to do it. I would highly, highly suggest that if you're thinking about booking a 2 or 3 bedroom property, do it now. Like get in there and book for the summer. Save your spot. You know, there's typically a cancellation window that you can still fall within. So just make sure you're securing your spots early.
I think one more thing I want to point out to this too, though, is if you are, which there's a lot of homeowners here that want to manage their own properties, and to each their own. There's no right or wrong answer. My opinion was, you already know the opinion because I hired them, because of things like dynamic pricing. Because when you talk to a lot of people that rent their own homes, from a renter's perspective, it's great because they typically don't understand the market, follow the market, and maybe in some cases they're just lazy and they don't adjust their pricing and they just keep it flat. And so you have an opportunity as a renter. As the owner of the property, you're missing opportunity because you need to be turning the spigot consistently, and that's the advantage of hiring a company that does that for you, tracks it for you, has all the data, and has the systems that can turn up and down, and maximize the opportunities.
100%. And I'm all about people managing their own stuff if they want to. I do think that you have to fundamentally understand the market to price in it. I'll say the statement, and it might be controversial, Jeff, so I'll just say it, but if you're a 2, 3, 4 bedroom property and you're 100% booked out right now for the summer, you're too low. You book too low. Renters at Lake of the Ozarks are freaking smart. People who book here every year, they are smart. There are a ton of people who get into March and they don't have what they want and they start jacking down to find it. We're gonna hold because we know the market's there. We're 2,000 doors short June, July, and August on every weekend. We know there's a 98% chance to get booking. We know there is. We know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Say that stat again.
It's like 2,000 doors short. So we know we're short in supply when it comes to summer demand.
Which screams opportunity.
It's nothing but it. We also know that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, even in season, there's a less than, let's say, 40% chance. So you want to do things like longer bookings. Everyone wants that. So if you're looking for a 7-day rental, that's your best deal you're ever going to get, is if you get a 7 to 10 night rental. Most people are going to discount those things because they want those longer stays. And I think that understanding that as a homeowner or as a guest is really important to know what your best deal could be. I mean, that's why we do what we do. And it's why I have experts that tell me those things, because that's the kind of data that helps us understand the spigot itself. It's not just about the algorithm, which everyone talks about. You can hire those companies all day to do that. But if you don't have someone physically sitting in front of that algorithm, turning it, adjusting it, you will end up
also understanding the market. Hiring local, because there's other management companies, nationwide management companies, and it's impossible for them to understand every market, the nuances of every market. And to me, that's a no-brainer.
I agree with you. I think that if you're gonna self-manage, at the very least, you should do a ton of homework around your house size, the market, and what you're doing, and that's important.
You think that because you self-manage, you're saving the X percent that you would pay to a management company, but you're probably leaving dynamic pricing on the table, you're leaving marketing on the table, you're leaving opportunity. You are probably losing even though you think you're winning.
I think there's a part of that. Or the flip side, you are doing all those things, but you're working 30 hours a week to make that happen. So I
highly doubt any self-managed people are doing the level of marketing they could be doing, the level of dynamic pricing they could be doing, the level of data research they could be doing. I defy you. If you say you're doing it, come forward, comment, and then I want to bring you on one of these, and we're going to have a sit down with you and Zach, and we're going to talk through it and see if I'm right or you're right.
I'm in.
That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
It would be fun.
I don't think anybody's actually going to come forward and do that.
Maybe, because if you are, you're spending 30 hours a week, and then you go, what is your day job paying you? And then you're like, okay, I'm doing a $50 an hour job. I should be doing $1,000 an hour job. So anyway, that's cool. So this is kind of the occupancy data. It's good to talk through and how we do. I'd say as a market, the best that we understand, the general overview, about 14% of the market is booked for the summer. So about 14% of the bookings have come in today.
In mid-January.
Yep.
Interesting.
I'll tell you, comparatively to me, we're at like probably 6 or 7%, which is normal for me to be about half of what the market's booked because of the way we price, because we don't want to undersell early for homeowners.
You're hold and serve.
Yep, we're holding. As we get into March, we know for a fact that we will beat the market in booking, like we will double the market getting into that. Those are very strategic moves. A lot of homeowners that we pick up that come from other management companies, especially ones that aren't local, Like we deal with a lot of non-local management companies, either franchised, large companies outside of the lake, or people who like own a small management company but they live in Illinois. One of the biggest misses is everyone wants their house booked in January to feel good about the money they're gonna make. Yeah. When they come over to me, that's the first conversation we have is like, you actually left $10,000 on the table just because you fundamentally didn't hold and wait. And it's the hardest conversation a lot of times, but I'll tell you at the end of the year, we can show you the ROI difference because of the way we did it. So.
It's a conversation they need to be having.
Yep.
Well, I think this is going to be a fun ongoing series. We barely scratched the surface on this data. I think the data points will probably change from month to month. Absolutely. Because obviously we'll be talking about different things in July than we are talking about in January, but it's all fascinating and it's all interesting to know, and I think this is going to be a good series.
Awesome.
Let's give them a tour of this house.
Awesome, man. Let's do that.
All right, Zach, we are at, as I mentioned at the very beginning, Greens and Gators, which is off of HH, almost at the very end here.
It's literally less than a mile from...
It's just almost a stone's throw. Yeah, I flew the drone over there, and I'm sure we're showing that as we're talking. What a great location.
So this house is actually another homeowner of ours. They own One Oak Landing, which is a phenomenal property as well. So if you've ever stayed there, it's a very similar style to here. This homeowner wanted to expand out and do something a little different. So they bought right here off of Bittersweet, which is the road that goes into Shady Gators. Mm-hmm. They do allow bachelorette parties. They are allowing pets, which is huge. It's not a lakefront property, it's actually second tier, but you can see the lake, a phenomenal view of the lake. It's in a great location. There's actually other rentals around here, which makes it nice if you had a big group, want to rent other things.
How many does it sleep?
It sleeps 20 people, so it's a good size house.
It's a 2-level house, 2 living rooms, 1 main floor, 1 below.
Yep.
Big ass TV down below.
Huge TV down below.
With kind of a gaming console.
Yep, video gaming console there. You got 3 bathrooms.
3 full bathrooms.
They have like an office den area with a pull down that you can push up if you want to use it. Yep, Murphy bed in case you want to use it as an office, which a lot of people like to use an office.
Which, by the way, that is one of the rooms that has this view, so it's kind of a great spot to work from.
Phenomenal view. Got a fresh update on the kitchen. Nice spot to eat and cook with your family. Great upstairs living room, and then the 2 bedrooms upstairs and a bathroom. New flooring all throughout the house. And there's a bar downstairs, which is a great add for folks that want to just hang out and party in the basement. It's one of those places where I think it's already booking crazy right now. And I think it's just really a great spot to come. Go down to Shady Gators, have a good time. You can walk there if you want to. You can walk home if you need to, which is nice. Uber will pick you up here anywhere you want to go. Yeah. It's actually fairly close to the dam from HH. Yeah. So if you want to do stuff like that. For Bike Fest, this is going to be a phenomenal place. There's enough parking up front that you can pull in a trailer for your bikes back in. Obviously there's no boat slip, there's no lake access per se, but again, you can go to Shady Gators and hang out, have a great time there. There's a great porch area out front with a grill. Yeah, there's a fire pit here. We have like a solo stove here that you guys can use. And then downstairs, there's a little deck that comes out that you can sit and enjoy the lake views and the quiet. It's really cool because it's on this really busy street, but it's kind of backed in this little corner of the street here where you have some woods to your left and you kind of sit on that bottom deck in privacy. So.
Yeah, and truthfully, most people that come to the lake for vacation, depending on when you're coming, you're typically not coming to spend much time in the house anyway. This is an ideal location off of HH because there's so many different, not just Shady's, Lazy's, and Camden on the lake, but you've got a plethora of bars up and down HH, and then as you mentioned, you go up to the Strip and there's a ton there. I think this location serves really, really well, especially as you mentioned for Ubers because it's so easy to get to. There's so many places at the lake that are way off the beaten path. This is not that, which does present awesome opportunity.
100%. With any new home, like even Jeff's home, we did call it a soft launch. We launched the property. This is brand new. This homeowner bought this house as a flip. The basement was completely gutted and redone, and the upstairs had new flooring and things put in. This place rented really well. Actually, we already have 3 5-star reviews on the place. There wasn't a ton of like things open when they came. Those reviews are all phenomenal. This home was a perfect fit. Great house, cozy, tons of space. The home was amazing. My family bragged about how satisfied they were with everything. We travel in large groups, usually not enough supplies. We bring out, recommend anyone, 10 out of 10. Affordable price, all those things. Like this house is going to be one to watch and to book because I'm telling you, it's going to book up crazy. I know the summer is about half booked here, which is pretty unusual actually for a new property on the market. This is the perfect year to book it because it's going to be the cheapest it's ever going to be is year one. It's basically brand new in the house, so it's worth the try.
So a couple of things then. If somebody wants to, based on the conversation that we had today, somebody wants to book their vacation and they want to look at all of your properties, how do they do so?
Yeah, go to grandwelcome.com. So Grand Welcome is a franchise, they're nationwide. So when you show up to grandwelcome.com, you're going to see 3,000 rentals across the U.S., but it's pretty easy to navigate. You're going to click on the state, Missouri. There's 2 options, Branson, Lake of the Ozarks. Lake of the Ozarks, you click it and you can scroll down. This one's called Greens and Gators. You can scroll through all our properties. You can sort by arrival date, departure date. You can sort by all the things in the calendar. So you can really start to see kind of what's available.
Now, if I'm a property owner currently, a potential property owner, and I want to sit down and have the conversation with you like we're having today, and you want to talk about either something they already own, something they may already have with another management company, there's something they may be managing themselves, or something that they are thinking about buying, how do they do that?
So go to lakeozarkmanagement.com. That is my and Katie's website. Go there, you'll see a nice photo of my family and then kind of what we do at a high level. You can call the number in the top right of the screen, 573-505-0068. That goes directly to me. I'll answer the call. We can talk through it. If you call me and for whatever reason I don't answer, I will call you back. But you can also schedule time on my calendar, schedule a call. That's a direct link to my calendar. We also have the ability for you to estimate your income. That's an email that comes to me. It's not an automated thing where we're gonna get something back. I'm gonna physically sit down. It's gonna take me about an hour. I'm gonna run a projection, send that back to you with an email with a bunch of information. So please reach out. We want to talk to you. And if you're an investor and you're not sure if you want a property management company, you're not sure if you do, you don't, you want to buy something, that's fine. Call me. I will talk you through some of the data. I can sit down with you. And even if you just say, hey, I want to do it on my own, but I want someone to coach me through it, there are services we can provide for that as well.
And I would say too, the one thing I will mention, and this is from personal experience, and I'm not being paid to say this, but real estate agents have their purpose, and this is not one of them. And what I mean by that is when I was looking at buying our property, which is called the Honey Hole, the real estate conversation was really just more about the price. It was more about the comps and things like that. But I had way more conversations with Zach because I knew I was buying it as an investment. And so we dug deep into the numbers. Zach met me at the property. And I'm not saying he would do this for everybody. I think he would, depending on the situation. But these are the conversations. Again, no offense, because I've got a lot of great real estate friends and customers myself. But I think when you are considering buying an investment property, if you're not having a conversation with a management company, somebody who understands not only the data and the market, knows these things we talked about today, you are making a mistake. And so make sure you do this. And Zach, give them again where to go to connect with you.
LakeOzarkManagement.com. There's several options there. So give us a call, schedule a call, ask for an income. That's going to send me an email. All of that is on the table, and we want to talk to you because our goals are definitely about improving and driving better rental vacation spots at the lake. Remember, there's 2,000 doors short in July and August. So you're not late to the party if you haven't done it already.
Amen. And if you want to have your property showcased like we did today, please reach out to me. We'll drop my phone number directly on the screen so you can literally reach out to me. If you want to have your property showcased and have some professional videos created for it, you want my endorsement for your property, there is an opportunity for that. We're going to be doing this every single month. Grand Welcome does this for every single one of their properties, which most management companies do not here at the lake. That's why we kind of came together, because we believe obviously the marketing on social media is one of the best places to be reaching your target audience. So feel free to reach out. You've got all of Zach's information. If you need me for any of this, I'd be happy to help. I look forward to this series. It's going to be fun. Go over to our YouTube channel, Lake of the Ozarks Lifestyle. Check that out because we're going to have a lot more of these conversations going forward, because I believe, as I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, this is going to become one of the hottest vacation destinations in the country, absolutely in the Midwest. There's going to be a lot of opportunity not only for you and your family to vacation here, but also as an investor, as a potential property owner, you might want to consider the Lake of the Ozarks. Zach, thanks, buddy.
Come see us.
See you next month.
Yeah.